All right. Hi. Good evening to all of you. Sat Sri Akal, Namaskar, Adab to all the members who have joined in. I see many of the people from yesterday. Perfect. Okay. So first of all, the apologies from me, not the team. I was involved in one of my company's interview, which made this 2-3 minutes of delay. Right. So please bear with it. And again, we are here. So happy to see all of you. Let me just place the live chat again. Yes. Royal Studio GCC compiler, right? Bilkul, definitely. I'll help you with it. Do not worry. So what I realized is yesterday, the tutorial that I've given you, in it, there are few debugs that you can do to fix it. Okay. सबसे पहले, what I will recommend is that you can simply try a few simple commands which are mentioned right over here. है ना? सबसे पहले पैकमैन स्पेस डैश कैपिटल एस वाई यू, ठीक है. सो अपने यूसीआरटी टर्मिनल के अंदर ये कमांड फायर कर दो एक बार. सो इफ यू फायर इट, इट विल अपडेट एवरीथिंग. मेरे केस में सब कुछ अपडेट हो गया है, कुछ डाउनलोड की जरूरत नहीं पड़ रही है, हेंस इट इज वर्किंग फाइन. बट आई रिकमेंड कि ये कमांड प्लीज एक बार रन कर लो. एक बार स्टेप बाय स्टेप सारे कमांड्स रन कर लोगे, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगी. ठीक है. वंस यू आर डन विद दिस, द नेक्स्ट कमांड इज, आप इसके बाद पैकमैन स्पेस डैश एस यू लगा दो. ओके. यस, दिस इज फॉर विंडोज. और इसको हिट एंटर कर दो. हिट एंटर करने के बाद मेरे केस में कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, बट इट विल डाउनलोड समथिंग अराउंड अ जीबी ऑफ 708 MB या कुछ भी ऐसा डाउनलोड कर सकता है. ठीक है. जस्ट क्लिक ऑन वाई, यस दबाते जाओ. जहां पर वो पूछ रहा है कि वाई और एन दबाना है, वाई दबा दो एंड जस्ट सिंपली प्रोसीड विद इट. ओके. All right. All right, cool. So if you want to understand once again the process case को मैं कैसे download करूँ, for you simply have to search for MinGW download, or you will be able to find the site and proceed with it. Okay. If you are looking for Mac, I'll suggest कि आप अभी के लिए code block use कर लो, code block download कर लो. You can just go to code blocks website. ये भी अच्छी ID ही है. Downloads पे चले जाओ. In downloads, you'll be able to find how do you want to download it, right? You'll find supports over there. Okay, just a second. Binary release ले सकते हो, source code ले सकते हो, and you can just simply proceed with it. यहाँ पर advertisement आएंगे. You can see this is a source code, and for Mac you can stick on the way I told you in VS Code, है ना? कि how do you want to install it? वो VS Code से हो जाएगा. MySys2 search कर लो. MSys2 का मैंने आपको सिंपली बताया था कि आपको यहाँ पर जाके इंस्टॉलेशन स्टार्ट करनी है, राइट? So this is very important, guys. Make sure you get it done and things work right. Yeah. All right. Perfect. Cool. So we will get back. I'll just share my screen again and I'll repeat again कि अगर आप डेवलपमेंट साइकिल के पर्सपेक्टिव से कोई भी चीज को समझना चाह रहे हो, so best part is that you go with the Ubuntu, है ना? There are two important reasons to go for Ubuntu, people. I'll just talk about it. Let me share my screen once and then we are good to discuss it. So let us just quickly see if my C++ screen is live and you all can see it. I'll just delete few of the testing files that I did. Okay, yeah. So now the idea is that when we learn any skill, आप लोग ये certificate, why are you trying to get it, right? Why are you struggling for learning a skill? Of course, it is to gain some knowledge, gain a skill set, and at the end apply it in a way to earn a job, or the end goal is to earn money out of it, right? To gain something out of your skill. So think about the point that if you want to learn the skill, then learn it in a way where it will be applicable in the industry level. So industry will mostly work on IDs like PyCharm and VS Code. The industries will mostly work on Linux, Ubuntu. So best strategy is start from there, right? because Ubuntu is open source, free platform available. You don't have to buy Ubuntu, right? It is licensed for you all. So what you can do is, even if you use a Windows laptop like me, you can partition your Windows laptop and dual boot it to have Ubuntu. Mac people do not have to worry. Mac shares many of the POSIX system with the Ubuntu. So Mac developers can also stick to Mac. Mac is also a very good option. In fact, a very well balanced of having GUI plus the terminal coding. Mac is good at it. So I will recommend either stick to Ubuntu for industry level, at least Mac for learning level. But again, Mac is expensive. As students हम उसे अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते, तो बेस्ट सोल्यूशन है जो मार्केट में 100% उसी पे काम होने वाला है, that is go for Ubuntu OS and work only in Linux. So okay, I believe my screen is being shared. Is it? Can you people just comment it out quickly in the chat if my screen is visible? Can I get some live comments streaming in? Can you see the editor that I'm sharing? Okay, let me just confirm. Okay, yes, I think my okay, the screen will come up now. Yes, there you go. Now you will be able to see the editor. Cool. So the idea will be, we will start learning about a few different strategies in which we can use this editor जो हमने अभी install किया है, setup किया है. And most important thing, students, please keep in mind, extensions में जाके code runner बिल्कुल install कर लेना. If I go for code runner, the first one which I told you, .run logo है. Please install this because for me, what I believe that the GCC compiler throws some issues even at the Windows level. Hence, the code runner works fine for me. Okay, so fair enough. I'll still stick to it. I'll just go back and we will try to learn few things. Okay, so we will try to understand first the syntax of our C++ language which we are trying to learn. So I'll just quickly create a new file in my VS Code. So please tell me, how can I open my account if I forgot? You mean the LetsUpgrade account? Talk to the LetsUpgrade team. They will help you with it. Okay. There is an all-in-one document. I think even you can try to look into it. All right. So let us now go and create maybe a demo file. Extension is always CPP, right? So that's the most important thing. We need to understand how to create a file, right? Ideally, C++ was designed to be so low level, and it is machine independent. What does this mean is that it will run on any processor like Windows le lo, Ubuntu le lo, Mac le lo. It is compatible, and it is built in a way that is so low level that it talks to your machine level. You can say the level of machine level languages, right? So this is where we need to understand that why C++ rules this industry. Like even till the point C++20 release jo hai, that is still the best and the most suitable thing for a low-level industry, right? I missed first day. Can I continue? Yes, of course you can continue. First day was mostly about setup installations and how to use C++. For now, you can use an online IDE. Still, you are good to go to understand the syntax of the language, the functions, and your different data structures. Okay. Fine. So the very first thing in C++ is that we need to import some input-output libraries. So the very basic thing is I'll mention over here. I'll put a comment over here. Let us import a basic input output library. So what is a library? Library क्या होती है? So library is again a set of code which has been written for you so that it becomes reusable in a way, right? What is reusability? For example, suppose if I have to create a program which will add two numbers, right? Then it doesn't make sense every time I have to write a code to add two numbers, right? It is more important that I write a piece of code which will take any two generic numbers. You just You just change the numbers, but the logic to add them remains same. So you can create a library based on calculations that my library has functions like add, delete, subtract, multiply. Similarly, there are different libraries. If I have to handle different input output streams, I can do that. If I have to handle some type of files, maybe I'm talking about images. So there are libraries which can work with images. OpenCV is a library which can be used for such tasks. If I have to handle audio, there are different libraries, FFmpeg and many more toolkits which are needed to work around it. So we should always be aware as a developer, whatever we're going to develop, there will be definitely some library support, some framework support, some tool support that we will need to complete that code, right? Because I have never met a person in this life, and I should not even meet a person who believes that he should handle each and every single piece of code on its own, right? Because it is just not simply possible. When we buy a package, when I say buy, it doesn't necessarily mean with monetary. जब हम कोई चीज इंस्टॉल भी कर लेते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल पाइथन इंस्टॉल कर लेते हैं, सी प्लस प्लस इंस्टॉल कर लेते हैं, इट कम्स बाय डिफॉल्ट विद सम wrapped up libraries also. Open source होती हैं, you need not pay for it. Then there are some libraries which are paid and licensed. But again, the point remains same. Library कुछ नहीं है, कोड है जो reusability के लिखा गया है ताकि आपको बार बार कोड ना करना पड़े. In a programming language, even if you type something like print, so there is no magic happening that the machine will understand what print means. Machine is not something that understands print and interprets it to be like something kuch print karna hai. Or it is not. It is more like a reserved keyword. It is more like a inbuilt written code. एकदम प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज के अंदर जाके देखोगे तो all these keywords is reserved spaces of words. They all have been coded to a level that print जब भी रन होगा, whenever you are executing print, or let us say in C++ cout जब करोगे, तो cout has a set of instructions which are governed inbuilt by your programming language, and they will understand that you are trying to print something. Okay, so to import any library, we use #include. Okay, this is the keyword used to do it, and in the XML tag we put the library name. You can see there are so many libraries that my model is suggesting me at this point to add. Okay, but I will stick to IO. IO.hbx library hai, IO stream library hai, which I want to use. So the best part of using an IDE or integrated development environment, बहुत सिंपल टर्म्स में बोलूँ तो जैसे VS Code, PyCharm, इसको यूज करने का बेस्ट फायदा होता है. द बेनिफिट ऑफ यूजिंग इट इज दैट it auto recommends or auto completes your code and warns you about some lines that are not correctly written, right? So in a programming language, especially like C++, each line is concluded as a statement, okay? And statements are set of instructions, individual instruction, okay? An instruction can also lay over multiple lines, okay? But a statement is generally one single line, right? That's what we should understand as a statement. Okay. Okay. Yes, Yash, if you are facing this issue, for now, I'll just recommend, let's try once with CodeRunner. You can just install CodeRunner and I'll show you how to use that, right? Just make sure in your extensions, CodeRunner is installed and not disabled, okay? We will use it to run our codes for now. So once we have included the IO stream, I'll just simply using namespace standard, okay? So what does this mean? ये चीज का मतलब क्या होता है? What is namespace here? Is that every time if I have to do printings, if I have to take inputs, I have to C++ का syntax is something that I have to mention this standard, okay? std लिख के फिर I have to use cout and then mention, like cout is like print. Cout to like C++ में कुछ चीज को print करने को we call it cout and we say hello and something like this, right? So ideally मुझे बार बार यहाँ पर ये चीजें ना लिखनी पड़े. I don't have to write it. We just include it at the very top space. Okay, everything is in the standard namespace nomenclature, so just use it as it is. Okay. If you want to work without it, no problem. Do not use namespace as standard. Not a mandatory thing to do. Only thing is you will have to write std in front of each command that interacts with the standard namespace. Okay. So with that being said, C++ always expects a int main function, and I'll explain you why it is int main and why or what is the syntax of it. I'll come to it. Okay, let us understand. So the very first piece of the line in the code that I have written is known as a comment. And what is the importance of comment? It is like a manual or you can consider it a manual so that you can understand few things for your level. Notes manlo. I am taking some notes for me or for any fellow developer who wants to read my code so that there is some helpful information in it that can explain few things, right? So notes taking or manual making is a very important task. Imagine if you are building a product in the market and your product is a bit complex. I'm not talking about a very simple product. Even people can tend to mess up with simple products, right? So if you're launching a product and you do not have a good manual to explain how to use your product, there is a huge chance or a high chance that you will fail to explain what your product does, right? Similarly, as developers, if we lack in the skill of adding comments, we will fail at a point to explain what we're trying to write, right? Only a very senior expert developer with a lot of frustration will be able to crack your code. Juniors or fellow developers will always have difficulty. Time will be wasted to understand what were you thinking while writing this code. Why did you design the logic like this, right? So that should be explained, and that is a sign of a good developer. So if you are a good developer, you will definitely use comments a lot in your code. Moving ahead, the second thing is known as the libraries that you will need. So depending upon the use case, whatever you're solving, you will need the libraries accordingly. If you need a library to interact with your read and write, you will use a library which can help you write or read files, library to connect to the internet, request libraries to connect to some HTTPS domain spaces, you can use it. So whatever is the use case, there's a library for it. If there is no library for it, then you design your own library for it. Okay, so that's the point. Uh, and namespace I mentioned just to make sure that C++ understands everything is in the standard namespace nomenclature. Okay, yes, of course, that is completely correct. That comments are a part of the code that do not run and they provide it information, right? Of course, yes. So depending on different programming languages, comments can be written in different ways. Like uh, I find a quick fix way / comment for C++ works the best. Now, the next thing is that when we are moving ahead, C++ or programming languages most in many cases will look for a main function to start or enter the program from, right? So that's the most important and the mandatory function that you should create. Okay. So the idea is that in C++, what C++ expects from you is that you add the data type in front of your function which it is supposed to return. Okay, we are discussing data types today in our session, so but for now we will just simply say that if I'm planning to return an integer at the end, then I will name my function as int main. If I'm planning to return a float, I'll write float main. If I'm planning to return a character, I will return character main. Okay, so that's at a level where we will explain that we are going to return an integer. Since our main function is not supposed to return any particular value to some another function or an API or anywhere, अभी के लिए ऐसे समझ लेते हैं कि हमारे main function का जो return है it is not going to be used anywhere, so we can simply dummy return a 0 over there. You can return 10 over there, you can return 100 over there, or 1 over there, no problem. Just an integer, a valid integer should work. Okay, so even if I've installed run code as an extension, I can select this part, do right click and use run code. So when I run code, you will see in the bottom terminal, I'm able to fire my project and my project exited with code equals to 0. And No issue. Done. Your execution is done. So let us understand how can we print things. So cout is the thing which is used to print. Maybe like welcome to Let's Upgrade YouTube Live. Okay. And remember that semicolon is needed to end a statement. That is a part of the syntax in C++. Now let me select this code and do right click, run code. And there you go. The code executed well with the statement, welcome to Let's Upgrade YouTube Live. Yes, I will explain void main. Just give me a moment for that. So as I mentioned that ideally we write main as an int and return 0 to it. Sometimes we will encounter a condition where our function is not supposed to return anything to us. In that case, it's completely fine even if we write void main. Void means that it is not going to return anything with nothing falling into it, right? So even if we try to execute this code, run code, okay, you will see that the code executed with an error which mentioned that main function must always return integer. Okay, so which is where you will realize, oh, okay, now I know that void is a legal thing to do, but not for main. I'll always return a 0 and be satisfied with it. But there could be functions that I can create which return void for it, right? I'll teach you functions separately, but if you want, I can just simply add one more function for now, which is void some function, and it doesn't take any input as of now, just does cout. This is void function and it doesn't return anything, and it works very well. Okay, I can also, before returning or ending the main function, call that some function and no issues. So if I run this code, you will see that currently I am able to run it, but nothing happens with the error, right? So I think that explains you the syntax level of how you can work with it, right? You can also add certain special reserved characters which can add tab spacing. So on the keyboard, there's a control, then there is shift, then there's caps lock, and then there's a tab key which adds exactly 4 spaces to your string, right? For example, if I have to do that, I can use /t over here and /t over here, and then I can try to run it, right? So control A, right click, run, or control alt N will also work to run the code every time. You'll be able to see that now the Let's Upgrade which I'm running, it runs with a tab spacing. Okay. So what I will do is I'll intend to basically add 2 tabs then, /t and /c/t, control A, control alt N. And you will see the spacing which is available between the Let's Upgrade in the output, right? Okay. So if at all, Yash Salunkhe, you are facing that G++ is not recognized as an internal external command, I'll recommend that you follow the statements that I've given you at the start of the session. Uh, I think that should definitely solve your problem because my GCC is recognized. And the statements are simply, I'll just reiterate it for you. You just have to do pacman space dash syu and then pacman space dash su. And there's a long command that I've given you that you can follow around with it. So that should solve your problem. If not, do not worry. I will, right after this session, right after 30-40 minutes, I will draft, you can say, a document which will explain you the steps and add it to your all-in-one document. Okay, so this works, right? So before tomorrow's session, I'll make sure that I upload it in the all-in-one document so you can run and do it, right? Okay, make sure that you run it again until unless it shows that there is no more download left, everything is okay, and then maybe I'll add the document that should solve your problem. Fine, so that's more about it. So in C++, there are different type of you can say variables that we can create, right? So I'm pretty sure that all of us, we have graduated till 10th standard by now. Even if not 8th भी पढ़ा है, 7th भी पढ़ा है, 5th भी पढ़ा है, बहुत है. In mathematics, when we have to find x, उस पे बहुत सारे jokes भी होते हैं कि मैं x क्यों ढूंढ के दूं, और why is x like the center of gravity of my life. So we are pretty much aware कि variable करता क्या है, what is a variable. A variable is something that will hold some value for you, right? And since that value is not fixed, since it is not a constant, it is known as a variable. Okay. So now the point is, the idea is that if I have to create a variable, what are the different type of variables available to store, right? समझ लो वेरिएबल एक कंटेनर डब्बा है. अब इस डब्बे में मैं हर बार कुछ अलग चीजें रखूं, that is my choice. Okay. But in case, imagine these containers or these boxes are defined to work with certain type of things, then they are a certain type of container or certain type of variables. Similarly, in C++, we have integer, okay, which are used to store the whole numbers, okay, like 1, 2, 3, 100, 200, minus 1000, minus 50, minus 20, 20, okay. Then there is double or float. ये दोनों जो है, they are used to store the decimal values, right, such as 9.99, 3.464122, right. So if you have a decimal value which is more in decimal numbers, so double use करोगे. Small precisions के लिए float is fine. Short में बताऊंगा, I'll keep it short, that float is for decimal values, integer is for your whole numbers. Then there are char, char or character ka char. Char is a variable which is used to hold your characters, like some upper or lower case दोनों, a b c d, a capital B capital C, okay. Single quotes के अंदर इसको hold करते हैं. And if you have to write statements like this, जो मेरे C out में आपको दिख रहा है, this is a void function, line number 6. So this is a string, और string को भी आप hold कर सकते हो in the variable. Then last but not the least, एक और इंटरेस्टिंग बिल्ट इन डेटा टाइप है boolean, which stores only true false, जो कंप्यूटर के लिए 1 और 0 है. हाँ ना, रेड येलो कुछ भी समझ लो, ठीक है. So it is just 1 or 2 for it. So let us talk about syntax. How do you declare a variable? So I'll just mention comment में syntax of defining, syntax to define a variable. Okay. So the idea is, you mention the type. Type, I have explained you what the type could be. Type could be integer, float, character, and so on. You know, I'll just mention it like that. Then comes the variable name. Okay, whatever you want to name it, and then comes the value with a semicolon. इसे एग्जांपल हो सकते हैं. Can you try to can you try to type in the chat quickly, so that I will understand that we are live and interactive. Mention some integer floats characters, define it quickly. एक लाइन आपके अंदर के डेवलपर्स को जगाओ और एक लाइन लिख दो फटाफट, वेरिएबल्स डिफाइन कर दो एक लाइन के अंदर इन द चैट्स, राइट. फॉर एग्जांपल लाइक इंटीजर a is equals to 15. मैंने क्या डिक्लेयर किया, मैंने इंटीजर डिक्लेयर किया है, राइट. यस. So that's the agenda. You can do what not. आप चाहो तो यहाँ पर float declare कर लो. Float b is equals to 15.66. You can do double is equals to maybe like अभी के लिए double भी आप ऐसे ही समझ सकते हो. Float ही एक तरीके से ये समझ लो 16.66. And then comes the character. Character में मैं store करूँगा d, and then string. I'll hold string के अंदर. I'll have to do import strings first. ठीक है. Hashtag include string. Maybe like e ले लो आप. Hello should work here. Let me just quickly add this value. Hashtag import include string. This should fix. Okay, just a second. And then I'll include boolean. Boolean is equals to, simply you can put true, and this should work at that point, right? So there are just few simple definitions on how you can use just a demonstration at a high level how you can make things, right? Perfect. So Vloggy is being interactive. I see Wild Niche. I see Abhinavanand Prasad. Okay, many people are putting in the comments. Fair enough. So that explains you basically what is a variable and how do you create it, how to use it, right? कोई कांस्टेंट बना रहे हो तो आगे C1 रख दो कांस्टेंट v is equals to 10, तो ये कांस्टेंट बन गया है, अब इसकी वेरिएबल चेंज नहीं होगा, ठीक है, इंटीजर डिफाइन कर दो. इनफैक्ट देयर इज नो हार्ड एंड फास्ट रूल दैट यू नीड टू डिफाइन maybe like 3 4 integers in different lines. For example, you have to make 3 integers x y z. I can define them right over here, x y z. So this is a declaration part, okay? And I initialize integers on the next line. They say x is equals to 10, comma, y is equals to 20, comma, z is equals to 22. So this is also fine. Okay. So this also works. Or there is another way. Just मान लो you have to assign all these values to a common. You can say common value. If everything has to be equal to 22, so I can just also use this, and this should also solve the purpose. Okay. And I can just simply do a C out of maybe x plus y plus z, which will definitely give me 66 as the output, right? This is how we declare things in a single line. How to print runtime of a code like the one you're showing. So you can simply select it and do right click run code to understand your code, and you will be able to run it. Okay, fine. Cool. So that explains, and I told you that constant बनाने हैं. Simply type constant. तो integer constant बनाना है, जैसे a is equals to 15. So this will make sure that your variable a always remains 15. Even if you try to change it, a is equals to 10, it will throw you an error that assignment is read only. You cannot modify a anymore. That is a constant. Okay. So similar to how there is C out to take the output, we can also take input from a user, right? So let us just quickly try to develop something like that quickly. Okay, I'll just do hashtag include iostream using namespace standard integer main. Since these functions are pretty straightforward, I'll just solve it in the main. Okay, we will learn functions in this marathon. Don't worry. See out. Enter a number. Okay. Right below it, I'll capture the number from the user. So this is how you make an interactive program where in the execution phase you are taking in from the user. Okay. Then maybe I'll do C out. Enter another number. Okay, and then I'll do C in. I'll take Y. Now, if you remember line number 5, I have declared two integers x and y. Hence, I'm able to use it on line number 7 and 9. Okay. Then I'll create a sum. Now, I am declaring and assigning a value at the same time, which is x plus y. Okay. So this should solve the purpose, and semicolon with C out. Okay. The problem is type क्या है? Integer. So C out sum is equals to, and I can now add the value of sum as it is, and then return 0 to close my function. Okay. All right. So once this is done, this is clear at this point. This is a simple and a sweet function to explain you how you can take input from your users and execute something like this. Okay. So if you look at the bottom of my terminal, bottom of my screen, the code is running and it is stuck at a point where it is asking me to enter a number. I'll say 10. Okay. So if I just go there and enter 10, okay, for now, just a second. enter a number, I'll say 10, then enter another number, I'll say 20, and the sum is 30. So this is how the code will work for us. Okay. Now code runner was again throwing some issues, so I switched back again to the CPP debugger, which comes installed as per our installation yesterday, and this fixes the problem. Okay. So this is your demo.cpp, and this is a simple way you can design C in and C out, right? So C in C out, they both belong to the IOStream library, which is a standard input-output stream library. It is used to take inputs and outputs from the users the way we did just now. Okay. So I hope the point is clear at that point. Okay. Uh, Similarly, you can test out different data types if you want. You can test out booleans, strings, and characters. Okay, so that will definitely work for you. For example, let us look at strings a little bit. For example, let us retain this code structure, and let us say string. Okay. So basically, if I have to work with string, I have to include the string library. So let me first also add that hashtag include string for me, and then I'll say string greeting, just for an example, should handle hello. Okay, and I'll just simply throw out the output of it, see out the greeting variable for me. Okay, and then I'll just quickly spin this code. You will see that the code runs and gives us an output of hello. So this is how you can create strings. Okay, and let's talk about a few operators like plus, minus, divide. I think that should be pretty sufficient. Like even if I create two numbers like integer a is equals to 10 and integer b is equals to 20. So yesterday I told you that there are many different operators that you can work with. So integer c will be is equals to the addition operator like a plus b. Okay, so this is the value. Okay, you can do plus, minus, divide. You can use arithmetic operators, assignment operators, logical operators, comparative operators. जैसे arithmetic क्या करेगा, plus minus divide करेगा, modulus करेगा, things like that करेगा, है ना? Similarly, assignment operators क्या करेगा, equal to, not equal to, okay? Comparative operator ये equal to है कि नहीं, greater than है, less than है, greater than equal to है, things like that. Logical operators like for that you need to understand AND gate, OR gate, XOR gate. मतलब AND और OR gate भी समझ लोगे more than enough. Even if you go to that point, that should definitely work for you. So जैसे comparative operator क्या करेगा, what will comparative operator do? Even if I see out that is x greater than y, इस केस में a greater than b कर लो, so it will throw out an output to you. अगर 1 return कर रहा है मतलब true, अगर 0 return कर रहा है तो false. So even if I try to run this code and see out it, so it will return me a 0. अच्छा ये hello के साथ 0, why it is joining it? Because I have to add a slash n so that by default enter press हो जाए printing के अंदर. So when I run it again, you will see that hello के बाद 0 print हो रहा है, which means that no, the comparison operator says that a is not greater than b, which is of course not, as a equals to 10 and b equals to 20. So I hope that explains you how we can work around with different operators in C++ and things like that. So strings are really very important. Let us try to make few things like few strings and try to concatenate them, right? I'll just create one more string. Let us say string greeting 1. Let us say string greeting 2 is equals to world and a semicolon. This time I'll remove this and I'll add a space, okay? And space slash. Now what I will do is I'll just say cout greeting 1 plus greeting 2. So you will understand that even concatenation works on strings also, okay? So this is how the idea should work, and you will see that the output is hello world as one single output of string, right? So that's how basically it works. In string, The most important thing are few important ways how to work around with string. Concatenation देखली, then you can also check the length of the string, right? For example, if you have to check the length of the string, simply we can use a variable known as like the built-in function known as dot length. Okay, I'll just see out length of this is equals to, and then see out. Let me hold it in a variable. Uh, greet is equals to this. Control X string greet is equals to this, and greet and greet dot length. So length will count at a character level कि कितना इसके अंदर length है, and it will give us the output. So when you're asking that can we return true instead of 0 in the previous case, so for that you will have to write a simple if else logic, that if value equal to 0, then return a string as true, else return a string as false. Then you will be able to print true or false on your terminal. Okay, so that's how it's supposed to work, and once we run it, this should definitely give us some idea about the string length, right? Okay, let me run it once. So length of the string is 15. Just to make things a little bit easy for you, I'll write 1 2 3, and then I'll write 4 5 6, or like 4 5 6, and add a slash n over here. I'll run this again. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, you will see the length of the string is 6, which is where you realize that it takes each character to count as a length. Okay, so even if I add one space over here 3 ke baad, and then I run it, you will realize that the length of the string is now 7, because there's a white space or space bar ki space in our code, right? So which is why you will understand that strings, they are designed at a character level. Character level pe jaake you can also access them. So for example, if I have to access the first character of my string 1, so see out first character of greet is equals to, I'll simply do greet at 0 index value. Index counting 0 से start होती है. देखो programming में, or in programming, the most confusing thing for a fresher or a new developer is that when we count things, we count them from 1, right? We consider object 1 as 1. जैसे मान लो, if I take you to a classroom and I tell you that please count the number of students present today, you will start from 1, right? Or naturally you will start from 1 wherever you go. But in programming, we start counting from 0, which is a little bit of shift in your habit that you will have to develop over time, and it will not take much. Quickly, within a day or 2 or 3, you will be habituated that we start counting from 0. So if there are 7 characters in my, like the length is 7, you will be able to actually start counting from 0 to 7. Okay, that are 8 characters available. नॉट जस्ट 7, 0 भी आ जाएगा, तो 7 + 0 8 कैरेक्टर्स होंगे मेरे आउटपुट के अंदर. सो समथिंग लाइक दैट. ओके, सो लाइक नॉट एज लेंथ 7 है तो लेंथ 7 ही होगी, बट जो लास्ट कैरेक्टर होगा वो 6th नंबर पे मिलेगा मुझे. ठीक है, 7 पे कुछ नहीं होगा. इफ आई एम ट्राइंग टू पुट ग्रीट एट 7, वहां पे कोई इंडेक्स नहीं अवेलेबल होगा, क्योंकि 7 अगर लेंथ है तो काउंटिंग 0 से 6 होगी. दैट्स द आइडिया. ओके, so even if you try to hit it, you will realize that the output is the first character of the greet is equals to 1. Okay, so that's how you access the elements of string, and that's how it works, right? So there are certain reserve characters जो हमें string में use करने चाहिए. Like for example, if I have to maybe like use इसके अंदर एक apostrophe लगानी है, single quote लगाना है, it will come with slash. Okay, so that the program will understand कि ये slash मुझे printing में भी देना है. For example, if I try to hit it, Now you'll understand that this greet comes with a slash in front of it. Okay, so that's how things are supposed to work when it comes to string. And user inputs के अंदर भी आप string ले सकते हो. You can take floats or whatever it is, right? All right. So I'll just quickly recap and explain things to you. जैसे नेम स्पेस भी एक बार दिखा देता हूँ कि अगर आप नेम स्पेस रिमूव कर दोगे तो कैसे चलेगा. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल इफ इन माय कोड आई एम डूइंग डिलीट करने की जगह इसी को यूज कर लेता हूँ. ओके, आई जस्ट यूज द सेम कोड. लेट अस जस्ट कमेंट दिस आउट, है ना. Not using it. Let us first use it. String greeting is equals to hello semicolon cout greeting semicolon. Run the code and you will see that hello is getting printed out. Let me comment this thing and now try to run it. Error, if it is visible to you, error exists after running the pre-launch. And let me just show the error. You will realize string was not declared in the scope. Cout was not declared in the scope. Identifier string was not declared in the scope. Okay. So all these error coming in because I have to define them in the standard space. So std लगाना पड़ेगा आगे, and then इसके आगे std लगाना पड़ेगा, and then things will work. Let's try to hit it once again. So you will realize that अब मेरा code वापस चल गया है. Okay. So now the problem is that when you're developing a big code, you will want to skip adding std every time, which is why on top we declare it once for and for all that use namespace as standard. Okay. So with that being said, I think that covers the majority of your focus on how are the variables supposed to work, how are basically different variables such as strings, uh, booleans, numbers, integers supposed to work, right? We have understood the syntax of the Python programming language, oh sorry, the C++ programming language, and this should be sufficient to move ahead to understand what are conditional statements, right? So conditional statements are something like less than equal to, greater than equal to, or things like that, right? So there are a few logic that can work around with the conditions. So let me mention those out right over here. Okay, that either things can be less than or less than equal to, greater than or greater than equal to, or they could be exactly equal to or exactly not equal to. So I have written out this syntax for you in which you can utilize these things, right? So for example, if you have to use a if block, so if block, how does it work? If condition true, then run this part of the code. इसी साथ अगर आप एक else लगा दोगे, what will happen is that if I'm writing something with else, run this part of the code. So what will happen is that sometimes there could be conditions based on which I have to run different logics. For example, suppose if I am trying to sell products online and I'm trying to write a code based on the gender, that if the gender equals to female, then I'll select few female related products and then try to sell it. Or if the gender equals to male and then I'm trying to sell few products based on gender, then I'll go there. So programming, I can write something like if gender equal to female, then run the if block, else run the male block. Okay, there could be multiple categories into it. Suppose if I also am working in for teenagers, so if I have teen products, so elif this condition is true, then run this code. Okay, I can have multiple elifs. मान लो मैं adult females, adult males और teenagers में teenager female, teenager male और toddlers के लिए कुछ products बनाता हूँ. Like I run a lifestyle. मान लो मेरा boutique है या lifestyle stores हैं, fashion stores हैं. I have clothes for different people, so I can run conditions, right? So if age is maybe greater than 18, you can say, and gender equal to F, then run this part of the code, and if I'll say age is greater than 18 and gender is equals to male, then run this part of the code. And if age is less than 18, okay, and I'll add a logic, and age is greater than maybe 12. So in that case, run this particular part of the code. Suppose I'm not checking in for gender, whatever it is. Like you got the logic, right? So we can try to create this kind of thing, right? So in the syntax of C++, the condition written like this: if अंदर आप condition add कर दो, and then write the block of code for if condition. Okay. So यूजुअली इफ अलोन भी चल जाएगा अगर वही पर्टिकुलर कंडीशन पे इफ चलाना है. इफ यू हैव कंडीशन यहाँ पर इफ नहीं तो एल्स, ये नहीं तो क्या, इफ नॉट दिस देन व्हाट, देन यू विल यूज इफ एल्स. इफ यू हैव ये नहीं तो ये, वरना वो, वरना वो, वरना फिर ये, which means if not this then try to do this, if not even that then try to do that, if not even that then there's a default case. So then you're going for a if elif else loop. Okay. Usually in C++, there is a very good and interesting way to write this condition, which is known as a switch statement. The switch is really interesting, and it works on basically what is the input, right? You can create cases in the switch condition. Like for example, you can assign, जैसे switch लगाना है अगर switch में whatever is the expression that you want to use, maybe I'm trying to use age, so मैं case लगा दूंगा x, which means कि अगर जेंडर मेल है और एज ये है तो रन दिस पार्ट, नहीं तो मैं लगा दूंगा एंड आल्सो आई ऐड ब्रेक ओवर हियर ताकि ब्रेक हो जाए. आई ऐड केस वाई कि अगर ये लॉजिक है तो रन दिस पार्ट एंड देन ब्रेक द कोड. सो स्विच इज रियली इंटरेस्टिंग एंड इट कैन बी यूज्ड टू फाइंड द करंट डे. ओके. सो फॉर एग्जांपल मान लो दैट सपोज आई एम ट्राइंग टू राइट अ कोड जिसमें मैं यूजर से वो कौन सा डे को मीटिंग करना चाह रहा है वो पूछना चाह रहा हूँ मैं. सो हैशटैग इंक्लूड, लाइक आई जस्ट ट्राई टू गिव यू अ डेमो, IO stream using namespace standard int main and okay, int day cout, enter the number of day and scene day. मुझे एक्चुअली डे को नंबर में लेना है, okay, which is like maybe in the range of 1 to 7 है ना, 7 days होते हैं एक वीक के अंदर. Say 1 is for Sunday, और like Monday से स्टार्ट कर लेते हैं. Say 1 is for Monday and 7 is for Sunday. Okay. So please try to decide based on it and give us this value. यूजर को ये बोल देते हैं. And scene is day, and similarly we use the switch statement जो पे यहाँ पे मैंने execute कर दी है. I'll just quickly explain you how the switch statement is supposed to work. If you look at it, switch day based on case. अगर day 1 है तो ये चला दो, अगर day 2 है तो ये चला दो, अगर डे 3 है तो ये चला दो, डे 4 है तो ये चला दो, डे 5 है तो run this, day 6 run that, day 7 run that. So as I explained to you, even in our case, we could use switch if gender is F, so case F. If gender is M, so case M, something like that. You can run the switch with integers, right? So this is how something that the code will look like if you have to run something using a switch statement. Okay. So this explains at a high level a basic of statements, but I have not covered all of them, like while loop, do while loop. Okay. So for loop. So we'll talk about it when we are discussing functions tomorrow. I think for now at this point, this should be sufficient that we have learned the syntax of C++. We have learned different data types. We have learned how to write the function, which is the main function. What is the purpose of including libraries? What is the purpose of using namespace standard? We have learned a little bit about if-else loops and the switch statements, right? Okay. So fair enough, and people, if you can definitely help Vandana, just go ahead and be the hero or be the super guy or super girl. Please help others to understand how to mark attendance. Because I think all-in-one document should suffice. If not, do not worry, Vandana. People will definitely help you, or the team will definitely help you. Let's Upgrade will come back and explain you if you have forgotten your password, how to mark your attendance at that case. Okay. So yeah, in fact, I also think that there should be no password for attendance, but never mind. So yes, if you want some assignment for practice, why don't you try to build me a switch? Okay, try to build a switch, and I don't want you to limit to a particular thing, right? Because I've said do this and you are doing that. Try to build a switch for any use case you think where you can apply a switch. Okay, I gave you some examples. You can apply it for product selection. You can apply it for some task selection. You can apply it for using the input and converting into a number of day. So use your imagination and show me your work by adding a switch to one of the use case. uh, okay, sir, can you give me some idea for project related to anything we learned today? You can try to build you can say store where you can select categories, right? You can use switch statement to make sure that the person enters the correct place. You can try to build a IVR system. IVR system समझते हो call centers जो होते हैं जहाँ पे call लगता है. Sir, I want to talk to a debit card department. I want to talk to credit card department or loan department. So make sure you use switch statements or if-else statements so that you are able to connect the call to the correct department. Okay. So that will work. That can work. Calculator is a good idea. आप calculator बना सकते हो. Okay. Yes, definitely. Calculator is bare basics. वो बना लो. Every student day one में तो calculator ही बनाता है. So बना लो calculator. A good idea. So all up for it. And with this, I think this should be sufficient for today. And we can rest the session here, right? All right, we can use calculator, we can use switch statements. Sure, definitely go ahead with it. All the best to all of you. Thank you so much for joining and tuning in today. I'll see you all tomorrow. Tata, bye bye, sayonara.